Welcome to another episode of Not Your Average Lives, another activating abundance episode. And today I am talking about something that I got from my favorite book on abundance called Simple Abundance. I've mentioned it before, and I can't remember if it inspired me to do this episode or this series, or I thought to do the series and then I was like, well, I need to research this. And I found this book, and it's funny because some of my students and some of the people that when I've posted about it on social media, they're like, oh my God, I got that book back in 1995 or 1996 as a gift. And that's what she says in the beginning is it was given a lot by as gifts, like a Christmas gift. And it became very popular as a gift item. But that's when she first published it. So I think it's in its third, maybe publishing, but she had to update a lot of the stuff because, of course, we didn't even have the internet really in the mid 90s. It was just getting started. So, it's a little excerpt every day. And something really struck me that I read recently. And it is about secret anniversaries of the heart. And I did not know this, but she said that June is the month of secret anniversaries of the heart. And she starts out with a poem, a little excerpt of a poem from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, an American poet. It says, the holiest of all holidays are those kept by ourselves in silence and apart, the secret anniversaries of the heart. So that was a little bit of the inspiration, I guess, for this excerpt that she did. But it really struck me. And when things strike me, I want to share them. So I'm going to be quoting this excerpt from it a lot because I can't even paraphrase what she says. She is such a good writer, and the way she uses words to really make an impression is so powerful. That's what good authors do, right? But she made me think about June, and she says uh secret anniversaries of the heart are anniversaries we never talk about, but they're in our memory banks and they come up. She says, be it a kiss or a last touch of a loved one. And when I read that, I realized that's the month my dad died. And it's etched in my brain. The last time I spoke to him, the day before, he suddenly died. It was a very sudden death. But then she went on to talk about how all of her memories of June, like great memories of summer parties. She said she did dance. She would do not dance, but theater. She would act out little plays, I guess, with her siblings. But she would act out these little plays. And the way she described it, she said she remembered summer theater performed on the patio while the grown-ups sipped their cocktails, the sound of tinkling ice cubes and applause. And that made me think of my parents and my growing up. And it was very similar. We didn't do plays, but we had a pool in our backyard. And so we would play in the pool, and the grown-ups would sip their cocktails on the patio. So it was it was really fun to walk down memory lane and start to think about the Junes of my childhood and the Junes of my children's childhood. So what comes up for you when you think about the Junes of your past? And I remember crazy yard games. So my dad was really into sports, and he I remember he played in a basketball league. So we would go to his basketball games. In fact, I remember he ruptured his Achilles tendon during one of those games. So he he would we would have these wiffle ball games, and my sister and her husband and my ex-husband, we all of us would get involved, and they were some like competitive games and so much fun. But my dad and I played badminton, and so I think it's built the competitive streak in me, or a competitive streak in me, because my dad was like 6 feet tall, and he never gave me a break. So he would slam that birdie right in my face. And the proudest moment was when I beat him the first time. I think I beat him twice in my life, but I was a teenager. I mean, I was in high school, I'm sure. And yeah, I beat him. I beat him at his game, and it was so exciting. And you know what? You got to beat somebody who, like, first of all, you can't ever serve him something that he can slam it. So I started getting very strategic with where I would place the birdie so he could slam it on me. And so these little soft things over the net, I got smart and I beat him, but such great memories thinking back. And that's what this excerpt did for me when I was reading it. So I started to think about, like, June, what other June things, and June always is the graduation time for graduation, graduating parties. Our next door neighbors just had a graduation party. Uh, and it's graduations from kindergarten all the way through high school. And I don't really count college in that because usually college ends in May. Both of my kids graduated from college in May. That was their ceremonies. But yeah, kindergarten and all of the important, like, sixth grade graduation or fifth grade graduation, whenever that middle school ends, or elementary school ends and middle school begins. But yeah, and high school. And it brings back those memories and kind of the entry into a new phase of your life. I also remember, as a working mom, it was like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do with my kids this summer? So it was like finding ways to keep them entertained for the summer. So finding summer camps, and it brought up this memory of this amazing camp they went to. They went to a lot of great camps because my kids were into sports. So they did soccer camps, they did some other types of camps. But they went to this camp called Hemlock, and it was kind of like a nature camp. And they had so much fun at that. I remember my youngest daughter was 9 when she first went to sleepaway camp, and it was like 4 nights, and it was a soccer camp. And I often think that she was fortunate because she had an older sister. So I probably wouldn't have sent her if she was 9. That was the youngest you could be to go to that camp. But she was 9, and her sister was like 10 and a half. And so I always felt comfortable with her going because her sister was there to kind of watch out, and they would watch out for each other. But I just remember hearing the stories of that first camp adventure, and she was like she made everybody laugh. She was like the joke of the party, I guess. But that was her because she loved that. And so my kids loved summer camps. And so that brought back those amazing memories. And then, we lived near the beach, not like real close to the beach, but we lived within driving distance. I mean, you could go for the weekend easily to the beach. I lived in the DC area. And so we could get to the beach in like 3 hours, and we could get to the mountains in like an hour. So I thought it was like the best of both worlds. But we would go, do the beach trips, and the things that you do in the summer, that when the kids are off and they have more time. My parents were teachers. My dad became an assistant principal, and my mom became a guidance counselor, but basically they worked on the school schedule. So it was really nice to have a parent who was there. And so we usually stayed home in the summer because we had a pool in our backyard, and my mom loved gardening, and so she had a beautiful rose garden around our pool. And so yeah, so those are the memories of, for me, June was kind of like the pool opened, and that's what we did. When I was a little bit younger, before we had a pool built, I was on the swim team. So like remembering swimming practice and swimming at the meets and stuff. I think I was 9, 8, 7. I mean, I was really young when I started swimming, and I was on the swim team. And it's so funny because my youngest daughter now lives right by the pool and the house that I lived in there. And she didn't even know it. So they are renting a house, and she sent me the address when they were looking at it. This is about like 2.5 years ago. And she sent me the address, and I was like, do you know that you can walk to my old house and that she can see my old elementary school from her window? So it's kind of cool because in a way she's a little bit recreating. I mean, the street she lives on has been there since like the 1960s. So it was there when I was little. And so it's like uh, a really familiar area to me. And she walks through the streets and it kind of like brings back like a lot of childhood memories of having lived in that area. But yeah, so bringing back uh, the June memories of the past, the secret anniversaries that's in your mind. Uh, but some of the memories, and I don't know why it's like, I mean, I think you have secret memories of every month, not just June, but I think June beginning being the beginning of the summer, and it was just, something that came up for her. But like I said, the first thing that I thought of as in terms of a secret memory, because a lot of these memories, it's like fun memories, and you're open about fun memories, but secret memories, you're kind of like you don't talk about. And so, of course, it was like June 23rd. That's the date my dad died, and it's a date I'll never forget, obviously, and that is definitely a secret anniversary of my heart. So I'm going to quote some of the stuff she says. I'm going to have to turn on my flashlight on my phone because my eyes are so bad. Um, but yeah, her words are so amazing. She says, secret anniversaries often reveal in mystical ways our place in the world and our sacred connections. They can be joyful or sad, or surprisingly, both at the same time, major turning points or minor epiphanies. So she's talking about how, yeah, there's good and bad. And some might be both, actually. And I think about my dad and his death and how shocking and sad and devastated I was. I think about all the good memories. He was amazing dad, and how much fun we had, and how funny he was, and how he really made me who I am. I think I was a tomboy when I was little, and I think I laugh a lot and have a great sense of humor, and I like people who have senses of humor. So I think that's a lot for my dad. So he goes on, or she, uh, Sarah Von Breathnach is the author's name, but she goes on to say, sometimes it takes long years to recognize the importance of such secret anniversaries, or to even know that you have one to acknowledge or commemorate with a silent pause and prayer, so that the past can move on with dignity. The past asks only to be remembered. The past wants us to move on more than the present can ever imagine, because until it does, we can't have the future that's waiting to unfold. The sacred contract and prime directive of the past is to get you to your future. That was powerful for me. It was very powerful because it's like you have to let go of the past. That's the meaning there. You have to let go of the past. And the past wants you to let go of it. And the past wants you to appreciate the good and let go of the bad. You carry that with you, but you have to move on. You can't dwell in that past place. So yeah, so the other thing she mentions, which I thought is so true, because sometimes when you have a memory because you smell something, or you have a memory because you see something or you hear something, uh, and that, talking about my daughter living near where I used to live, when I'm there and I see it, it's like everything rushes back, and it's like amazing. It's like, yeah, it's like it's so real. It's like, how can this be like really sick? I moved out of that house when I was 12. So that's 50 years ago. 50 years ago. So the senses, she says, are the conduits of these soul memories. Our senses are spiritual code breakers, ready to reveal what's been pushed down or hidden from view as we stumble through our days. And what she means by this is we pick up things with our senses, but a lot of times we're numb to our senses because we're so caught up in the day-to-day of life. And that technology, she even talks about how technology has run roughshod over our lives. And so we're like, we pay attention to like that text. She says, each encounter brings with it a sense of false urgency. And so we aren't paying attention sometimes to the senses that will actually connect us to what we need to connect to in order to move on. So I thought that was really powerful as well. So then she goes on to say, secret anniversaries of the heart are ancient primal pathways sent to lead us to connections more powerful than we can even imagine. Sometimes we dismiss the tugs of recollection as sentimental, impractical, or unimportant. So we just dismiss them. We don't kind of just sink into them. We dismiss them, you know, call it suppression, call it whatever, but we don't take the time to sit with them, to sit with the idea, to sit with the silence of them, and to recollect. So she goes on to say, we'd like to be rid of painful memories and move on before the memories are ready to bid us adieu and depart on their own. But honoring the personal passages that altered the trajectory of our lives, especially if we are the only ones who remember, that's how we grow, change, and eventually heal. I'm going to repeat it. Honoring the personal passages that altered the trajectory of our lives, especially if we're the only ones that have that memory and can recollect it, is how we grow, change, and eventually heal. And she says, our secret anniversaries of the heart are meant to be our spiritual go-between, messengers of understanding sent to nudge us 2 step backs so that we're at the right time and place for the next giant leap forward. And that is what it's all about. I mean, I thought when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, people sometimes feel like they're moving backwards or they're not moving fast enough. But what if you have to move backwards in order to leap ahead? So you might take 2 steps, it's a 2 step forwards, 3 steps forward, right? It's just 2 steps backwards, 3 steps forward. But what if you take 2 steps backwards and you like jump like a friggin' frog so into where you're supposed to go? But I love it because it's messengers of understanding sent to nudge us 2 steps back. So we're at the right time and place. We are at the right time and place. The secret anniversaries of our heart are meant, they're connections to our soul that are meant for us to reflect, for us to learn, for us to grow and heal from. And we just went through a module in my school, and we call it recon, and we're just like reconnaissance, and that's it. We go into the past, we delve into the past, and it's such an amazing experience of doing that and redoing the reflection. So you can take 2 steps back and one giant leap forward. And maybe that's why it struck me so much, because like I know my students are going through that, but it was like, to me, it just, when I saw that it was June is the secret anniversaries of the heart, and the first thing that came to my mind was the passing of my dad. And I just chose to step into the instead of the sadness of him not being here, but the beauty of the relationship I had with him, the lessons he taught me, the ways I am because of him and his influence. And that made me happy in the end. So action item, if you need an action item from my episode, how about making a list of your your June secret anniversaries of the heart? That would be a great exercise. And for those painful things, journal on that. Let yourself heal. And you might have to take 2 steps back, but ultimately that's the soul connection there, and it's meant for you to grow from. And then remember all the good. Always focus on the good, because there's always good in it. And what I will say about my dad is he lived an amazing life, and he was 72 when he died, and he died very quickly. He just had a brain hemorrhage and bloop, was gone. And it was a blessing, because he would have been a miserable, sick person. He would have, I think, I think about, he didn't believe in God, but I believe that God did that for him. So I think when he died, he was like, he learned the truth, and God greeted him and said, "Yeah, do you believe now? Because I gave you the exact death you wanted." I've often thought about that. So he was a cool dad. So remember those secret anniversaries of the heart, and I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning into the Not Your Average Lives podcast. If you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe on iTunes if you have an Apple device. You can find free resources and learn what else I have going on at the moment that might interest you on my website at notyouraverage.grandma.com. You can also find me on Instagram or Facebook at Not Your Average Grandma. If you liked this episode, it would make my heart so happy if you could leave me a 5-star rating. You can also add a review to let me know what you like about this podcast, which will help spread the word about it to others who need a little midlife inspiration. As always, be you, listen to your inner voice, and focus on reigniting that lost spark so you can start living your own Not Your Average life.